Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to another player profile. Now, it's not often that we see a burn man, a bloke that's been blacklisted from SuperCoach, had the pen drawn straight through him, line through his name. It's not often that those fellas get their name off that list, but Elliot Yeo is a man who absolutely has done that. Of course, for a number of years, he frustrated us. He promised to deliver. A dynamic type in the back line, capable in the midfield. Where's he going to line up? Once he finds his position, once he strings it all together, this man will be a superstar. But for years, not too many years, but a couple, he promised and let us down continually. I'll have a look at a couple of his seasons. Of course, 2015 was the one where there was a fair bit of hype, and he did increase his average a bit, about 65 up to the 82. But that was really where a lot of people thought he is a real dynamic player. There were comparisons to some real high flyers, and we thought, yep, he's going to explode. He did the opposite. He went down, 75.2 average in 2016. And I think a lot of people there and in between those seasons, throughout those seasons, had been burnt by him. He'd promised to deliver it within seasons. You'd get him in, or he'd promised to be terrible. You'd trade him out and he'd find form. A frustrating type. And then 2017 absolutely explodes, averages 102.1. And it was the start of the season that really pricked our ears up. What did he average in the first 13 rounds? 108.6. Outstanding stuff. Extremely good. Now, of course, he is now a defender. Makes him extremely relevant. Because, of course, you know, if he's in that midfield, you know, it makes it a bit iffy. The fact that he's a defender, which is where he started to play his best footy. He drifted in the midfield as well, but was just a fantastic intercept player. In 2016, just 1.9 intercepts per game. Pretty average, fair enough. Last year, 6.9 per game. Put him 11th in the competition. And his marks as well, 4.2 up to 7. Put him 7th in total marks in the competition. And naturally, disposals as well. He found much more of the ball because that was perhaps a knock on him too. Quite damaging and plenty of impact with his touches. But he's only getting about 15, 16 times. He boosted that up to 23 last year. He certainly found his role. Of course, pricked the eyes and ears up of the All-Australian selectors as well. He was a fantastic player and had a great season, a breakout season. So it was fantastic. Now, why can I not trust him? Do I have trust issues with you, Elliot? Maybe I do. But there's just something about you that I just can't trust. Now, I'm not going to tell you to not pick him because I think the fact that he's a defender and the role he plays, such an attacking player. Sam Mitchell's gone, Matty Pritis is gone. Elliot Yeo's going to get much more midfield time as well. I think they'll certainly look to utilise his aerial marking and intercepting still, but I think we'll see mid-20s touches and things like that. So I'll be picking him. It'd take a lot for me to not pick him, but there is a little part of me that just feels a little uneasy about it. Now, is that his history? I'm not too sure. He has let us down in the past, maybe. I'm a bit scarred from that, but you got to be careful of just one good year. Now, we have seen that at times, just off the top of my head, Nick Malcheski. I remember he averaged early hundreds, really broke out, and everyone got on board this beautiful left footer, hitting targets left, right, and centre. And then he dropped back down. Defenders can be a fickle business picking these blokes. I think Elliot Yeo is a bit more hardened than that, certainly capable of winning his own ball. He's not a guy who relies on handball receives and racking up effective kicks just out of the back line, you know, sort of being a designated kicker who can sometimes get shut down. I think Elliot Yeo, very capable of finding his own ball and has shown plenty of signs of being a genuine midfielder, shown signs all over the ground. So he's very versatile, and I think the fact that West Coast will need class for that midfield, a couple of experienced campaigners gone, I think he'll get some minutes in there, as well as utilising his clear skill reading the ball in the air and marking it. But just a slight word of warning that I'm not so sure where the graph's going. Will it plateau? Is he still going up? Because all these stats suggest going up. But his last 9 rounds, just an average of 93.4. Only hit the ton once. Now, he missed round 17. I think that was just through a slight niggle. I can't fully recall, but certainly his first half of the season, fantastic. First 12, 13 games, whatever it was I said before, 108.6. That's outstanding. Now, back into the season, 93.4, and in the finals, just a 67 and a 61. Is that reason to be concerned? I'm not so sure. Was that Yeo tiring after a breakout season and sometimes fatigue when you really break out. You can end a little bit slower for a younger player, but, you know, he's 24 or thereabouts. You know, it shouldn't be happening. You know, what was the reason? Did clubs start to find him out a little bit? Did they start to work him out a bit more? Because I know from personal experience, I traded him in at some stage in that back end of the season. I can't remember exactly when, and he was on fire, and I got him in at a reasonable price, and he was just dishing me out 80s and 90s, you know, decent scores without going big. And in those last 9 rounds, there was just the 100, I think, on the second last round. So he certainly didn't drop off the face of the earth, but he did slow up a little bit and just couldn't quite get that extra cog into his game to turn 80s and 90s into 100s, 110s, 120s, which he was doing early in the season. Now, you'd have to be a West Coast fan or someone who's watched him a little bit closer to know, was that form fluctuation? Did he carry a bit of a niggle? That's why he just rested him around 17. You know, was there something going on there with the body? Was it fatigue? Did clubs start to mind him a bit closer? You know, why was that? You know, why do you have such a poor final series? You know, a couple of games in there, West Coast won one, lost one, poor both games. You know, they're questions we've got to look at. The fact that he's a defender, he's basically a lock. You know, if he was in the forward line, if you're going, gee, we've got a lot of options here. A lot of guys are promising the average around that 100, 105 mark. There's plenty of options here. Who do I go? With the back line, we're most likely going to be scratching by the looks of it. You know, it's always the lowest scoring section of our field, lowest scoring position. It's natural, they're defenders. There's less guys really racking up the ball and being high scorers. There certainly are a few. And the fact that even if Elliot Yeo was to drift back to 95 to high 90s, we take that every day of the week. He's got so much potential to really go big. I think it makes him almost irrefusable in our back line. The weapons he's got, the role that West Coast will want to play him in. It'll be interesting to see as the pre-season goes on exactly where they want to fit him. But whichever one it is, it's going to be an offensive role that's really fantasy friendly. So, in my opinion, there'd have to be something drastic to change through the pre-season to not pick him, because he just stands a cog above most other defenders. There's not too many that have that promise. Runs on the board last year, a real genuine scoring role. You know, he's not really a defender. I know he's in the defensive line, but he's an attacking type. So I think we've got to look at him. We've all but got to lock him in. But make no mistake, there's a part of me that just goes, oh, gee, Elliot, I'm picking you because the numbers say yes. My other options compared to the rest of the backline boys say yes. But I'm certainly not going in with as much confidence as many other players who have averaged 102 last season I might do. There's a lot of guys that average around the 100 mark. You know, I was just in profiling Isaac Heaney just before 97. Got much more confidence in him keeping up on that graph, keep it going in the right trend than I do Elliot Yeo. If I'm predicting, I'm probably saying he stays around the mark, maybe a slight drop-off to, say, your 98, 99, around about that mark. Probably 95 to 100, I think he'll fall somewhere in there. But again, there's a long way to go. It's December. I don't think much will change, barring injury. Certainly watch to see what role he plays exactly, but it's going to be something that's really fantasy-friendly and good for scoring points. So I think he's a man we can certainly build our defence around, and hopefully he rids any sort of history of being a burn man, and hopefully he does prove us all wrong, because he has hurt us in the past. Last year showed that he's capable. Let's hope that he can be consistent and show plenty of the form that he showed in the first half of the season and less of the form in the back half of the season. So let me know your thoughts on Yeo. I think most people will just simply lock him in, and rightly so. But I think most will also have that little demon in the back of their head going, oh, gee, can I trust him? So I'll be interested to see your thoughts. But by all means, comment away. If you've got any questions, any other players you want me to profile, certainly leave a comment in regards to those, and I'll look to get to them at some stage throughout the pre-season. It is starting fairly early in December, but I think people are just starting to really get the interest back for SuperCoach with the positions coming out, prices and things like that. People start picking their teams, and I think now's a good time to start it. So certainly let me know your thoughts. Comment away, like the video, subscribe, of course. Hopefully we can push towards 1,000 as the season goes on. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys soon.